Recently I did a video on my top 10 favorite epic cards, I should say. And today we're looking at my least favorite epic cards. This list, I will say, the top of this list has some real competition for it. Has some real competition. But right now we're just going to start off, let's get into it with some dishonorable mentions here. First off is Belt of Giant Strength. Disclaimer for all of these cards, I'm not saying these cards are like too strong or anything, I'm just saying I don't like them. You guys can like them if you want, it doesn't matter to me. But Girdle of Giant Strength, I always call this thing Belt. The reason I don't like this is because it's like really boring. It's plus 10, and then when you play an Ogroid with Might, it is plus 10 again. I think it's a kind of boring effect. They could have done something more interesting with this one. I don't hate it, I just think it's kind of boring and had to make the list. Next up, speaking of kind of boring stuff, we're going to go in with this one. How many of you know what Greater Brothers do? Hey, you remember this card? I don't like this card because of just how bad it is. I don't know. Compare this to Skull, right? Ten for 6, Berserk 5, Destroy Self. It's very similar. He destroys himself when you get to 5. 6 provisions. However, Skull has self-damage synergies. He has Berserk. You can heal him. The self-damage synergies, I don't mean synergies, I mean self-damage. You can heal in Skellige from damage if he doesn't die right away. Greater Brothers has Exposed Destroy Self after taking basically 5 damage, so that's the same. He has another provision, which I guess makes sense because the armor damage doesn't really matter right away. But Fee 2, gain 2 armor? Come on. That's such a bad trade of coins. No one's ever going to do that. Even if it's under pressure, it's not even really worth it sometimes to do this. If it was Fee 1, gain the armor, it'd be a lot more manageable, and if it was 6 provisions. But no one's going to play this, and I've never seen this card played, and that just bothers me, and I don't like it. Let's move on from that one. Next up, we're going to talk about ones that actually, like, people probably know what they do. So, next up is going to be Rafara's Vengeance. Rafara's Vengeance is super annoying because it sets up multiple engines. It's super annoying because it's always played Mute Generator and stuff. However, the idea of Rafara's Vengeance, of trebucheting, and I gotta admit, I have a soft spot for trebuchets. I have built a few. So, you know, that kind of makes me like all the trebuchet cards a lot more. The idea of throwing something through a portal is interesting, although I question why you couldn't just drop the projectile off a cliff into the portal, which would be a much easier setup and not require the engineering. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. I'm sure there's a reason why you can't just make a hole in the ground and drop the item into the hole. I guess the trebuchet does accelerate it faster. I'm just saying, like, there are other ways to use these portals. So that makes me think, when I'm thinking about it, and there's other ways to do stuff. If you're thinking about it too much, it might ruin the lore, but that's okay. The idea of how it works is what holds it back from being on the list. But this card is really annoying to play against. Next up, we're going to go in with, speaking of annoying to play against, Sigvald. Doesn't quite make the list. Anyone who tries to play against this, it's so annoying. The only thing that really stops him is Lock. Poisons, he can purify himself one time. If you're playing damage decks, well, I mean, if you're playing Reaver decks, you kind of deserve what you're getting when you run into this. But other than that, if you're playing a damage-based deck, this card is so annoying to run into. But, you know, I don't hate him. It's just annoying. Just annoying. That's what there is to that one. And then we go on to, speaking of annoying, we have a Nilfgaard card. I'm sure this is a faction we'll be seeing more of on this list. Prophet. It locks your entire hand. Now, usually, this is annoying, and that's it. But sometimes, you have, like, 2 specials, like, you know, Neuromancy and some other special in your hand, maybe. And then you have 1 unit, and that unit is now locked for the rest of the game. Really, really annoying. And it can just ruin everything. However, no one really plays this unless they're playing Cultists. If they're playing Cultists, they already lose to, like, Purify Heatwave. The game's over. So, you know, playing Cultists, you probably win. But this card is just really annoying to deal with, and I don't like it. Sometimes he shuts you down, which can be a big pain. And the last dishonorable mention here, actually there's two more. Yeah, there's two more. Staying in Nilfgaard, this one's pretty quick. It's Felipe van Morlehelm. This card's stealing. Like, this card, if you have a Heat Wave in your hand, you have the choice of Heat Waving Masquerade Ball or Heat Waving Felipe. I'm not very sure. Like, is it better to Heat Wave Felipe than the scenario? Yeah, it probably is. And that's really annoying. He's puts out so many stats. He's like one of those must-answer cards because the ceiling is so incredibly high, which is just a pain to deal with. And the last one here, kind of in the same vein, is Sir Scratch-A-Lot. I don't hate Sir Scratch-A-Lot. It honestly, it's not like these dishonorable mentions, by the way, are not in any particular order. It's not like this is my closest to number 11. These aren't in any order. But yeah, Sir Scratch-A-Lot, if you can't answer him, he gets annoying, but he starts at 4, he goes to 6, but they leave him immune until they get something with Thrive out, like a Crochet. And I dislike this card more just because of the when you could do the like Arrakis Queen stuff with it, and which is Sabbath and all that garbage before they gave the before they made Doomed work properly and banish it when it returned to your hand. But you know, I don't hate that one. Now, on to the real list. The cards, my top 10 least favorite epics. Some of these you'll know. I guarantee that most of the longtime viewers can name the top 3 right now. But let's go take a look at number 10 first. This one is not particularly offensive. I just find it strong. It's Sticky Situation. This card is just so annoying to use and have used against you. So whenever you try and use this card, they never play a unit with 4 power. Or you just don't draw this till like round 2 when it's really bad. Or imagine you don't draw this till round 3. I've tried it and that happens sometimes. But I mean, it's just so annoying to use. Then the opponent always seems to play it right away and flip it and then like spawn a token on one side and play a unit and get 4 points a turn. And then it scales incredibly well in round 1, and then it falls off super hard. I just don't like it. I just don't like how it works. I don't know, I just don't like it. That's pretty much all there is to it. I don't like it, and whenever I try and use it, it seems awful. Whenever my opponent uses it, it seems good. But that's probably because they don't play it the other times, and you don't see that. Next up, we have a tie. You'll see why in a second. It's Alyssa. Shuffle a special card from graveyard into your deck. It was a bronze shuffle additional copy. And I'm sure now that I said it's a tie, you know what the other one is, and that is Asira. Shuffle a card from your graveyard into your deck or opponent's graveyard into their deck. Very similar effects. Recurring graveyard, which on the whole, I'm not wholly completely against, but the fact that Alyssa is only ever used for stuff like Witch's Sabbath and making extra copies of Waylays, which are quite annoying to play against, is why it's on here. And Asira, they just like recycle battle stations and play it in 2 rounds to get that tempo. So, or you play them on Golden Necker. And neither of those decks are particularly fun to play against, in my opinion. So they're on here just for that. But not much you can say about them. I don't hate them. It's just annoying. Next up, we're going in, speaking of Alyssa, we have Heist. The Heist. Why is this so annoying? I gotta admit, this card's actually kind of fun to use. If you're playing like an elf deck, not just playing the just Vanadane plus Angus plus Renaciel, and then whatever else you happen to draw. If you're playing an actual elf deck, this can get really interesting. Where you want to take advantage of all the elf deploys. You're playing Yavin, you're also playing Renaciel, obviously, and there's a lot of ways to use this, but it only ever is really used with Waylays and Traps, which are not very interactive or fun decks to play against. So it's on here. Next up, we're going towards a neutral. This one, it's not so much I hate this card, it's that it's only ever used for one thing, and that thing is the infinite armor double, like the Infinite Armor Operator deck. You play like Sayana, and then you play Operator and give them 2 of the 4 power guys from Skellige. Are they Handmade Protectors? Is that what they are? Yeah, Handmade Protectors. They give you 2 of these, and then they play Tainted Ale, or have the Tainted Ale out, and they infuse your guys, and then they just get infinite armor because they ping it with the leader charge. No one ever uses it for anything else, and that is why I don't like it, because that's the only time you ever see it. And other than that, it's not really good enough to see play. It used to be in like no unit decks, but now the value really isn't there anymore. So, I don't know, the idea of having it when the unit receives a boost, damage itself, and one, like, the idea is kind of neat. The problem is no one ever uses it for anything other than just exploiting the double Handmade Protectors, infinite armor, like Armor Smith. So, that's my problem with this one. Next, we're going on to number 6, and now we're getting to cards I actively, like, when I see these cards played, I actively get unhappy. And we're going to go right into Northern Realms one with Leticia. On paper, the idea of making your patiences stronger over time, like this fits perfectly with the patience theme, right? You're patient with Leticia, you keep her alive all these turns, and then she makes all the other patience cards even better as a payoff. Downside is, if you can't kill her, you feel like you lose the game instantly because of how insane the alumni's get. Granted, she is range locked, and after the rework to patience, where if they're not in the correct row, the patient doesn't tick, that's not as bad, you have more answers. And if you can't kill Leticia, I mean, sometimes it happens because you drew badly. Sometimes you don't have the control in your deck. Sometimes you kill it and they renew it because they're really having fun. But ever since she was changed to not boost her own patience and then be able to reset herself, it made her a lot more manageable. I just still don't like seeing her because as soon as they play her, you know, oh, if I don't kill that, I'm probably losing the game. And I don't really like those cards. Now we're going to a faction I'm sure most of you know we're going to visit. And it starts with an N, and it is Nilfgaard. Shocking, I know. And we're going to start off with Cynthia. Now, I do not like having my deck clogged or milled or anything. And Cynthia is just so annoying. They put the Guardian on top of your deck. You draw your hand, now you have a garbage card and you have to put back in your deck. Then in round 3, you draw the Guardian again, and you just think, wow, that's sad. The opponent always knows when the Guardian's in your hand, too, because it has like a different card back. So, that's annoying. Because you know they know you drew it. And it just messes up your deck's draw. It wouldn't be so bad. Because, like, if people... Like, say you're in, like, a Shoop deck and they just have a Cynthia, or, like, in whatever Nilfgaard deck, have a Cynthia. It's not the worst thing. It's that it combines with all the other Clog cards, and then if you didn't draw your good cards and you're running around one hand, you lose to Colgrim, and that's just how it is. So, that's no fun, because it increases the randomness of the game by making you have to draw your cards round 1, which I hate. And she's just part of that. Colgrim himself, I guess we should mention really quick, because I believe he is an epic. He is not on the list, because there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with Hyperthin with him, not just Clog. Cynthia, though, Cynthia's just Clog. So, whoops, that's not Cynthia. She is on here because I don't like seeing her played. So I know my next draw is messed up, and I know what they're doing. It's going to be really annoying. Plus, they can always play Abduction on the token, like a 13-point play. So, just annoying. Of course, if they're clogging you, they're not playing Abduction. I'm just saying it's an option. Next up, we're going nowhere, because it's still Nilfgaard. I know, that's amazing. We're going to go to Cantarella. Same vein as Cynthia. We do not like having our own deck messed with. This is worse, in my opinion, because they're taking one of your cards and playing it. So, with Cynthia and the whole clog thing, you're not going to see all your cards. With this, you're never going to see your cards. Like, say you're playing against a clog deck. If you have a max, you can shuffle your deck and have a chance to see the cards. Or if they don't have all their clogs, you have a bunch of draws, you can get to them. Contrail, you're never getting that card back. And this is the most frustrating thing when they just, like, throw it down right away in the beginning of a round, and then they just pull, like, your own Neuromancy. They pull your scenario or something like that, and then you're just like, well, he's too good. He's just too skilled. And you feel really bad about it. So that is super annoying. And the worst thing about Contrail is they play this on you, they take, like, your best card or whatever, and then you know they're going to hit it with coup and do it again. Like, you just know they're going to do it again. And I don't think you can do to stop it. Except, like, drawing better. So, yeah, this is really annoying. If they play it after you, like, Jan Calwait or something, though, then it's, like, whatever. But if they're just counter-rallying you randomly, and then you just lose a really good card, it feels bad. And then if you're the one playing Contarella, and you throw her, and she gets, like, a Peller, you feel awful, too. So, I don't know. I just don't like this card. Despite as much as I kind of like Contarella in the books and such, but I like the idea that she's just, like, there, and no one pays attention to her. She just gets all the information. But, you know, yeah, in the book she's kind of interesting, but just for how much she's plotting in her own mind and people don't realize it, but whatever. The card in the game, I don't like it. Next up, we do have, guess where we're going, guys? You're right. Nowhere again. Traherne. Here he is. Traherne. Whichever one is correct. I don't care because I don't like him. So, this is number 3. I bet a bunch of you have this guy at number 1. I remember, like, a few years ago, having a conversation that really cemented how much I despise this card. So I was talking with someone about a tournament deck. Like, they were building a tournament deck, and we were talking about, I don't remember what tournament it was for. I think it's for one of the streamer tournaments. I don't remember. But they're talking about their deck they're building for a tournament. We had this discussion about which cards to include in the deck. We came to, like, oh, this is probably the best thing to make. We'll go with this. And then they just had, like, yeah, we've got 6 revisions left. I'm putting in Traherne, so I have a, like, 5% chance to win the game. It's like, this card is terrible. I mean, if you want to do that, go ahead, but I'm glad you wanted my input on the deck. Sure, it gave him a slightly better chance to do well in the tournament, but it's just, if you play this, it's like Contarella, right? They're losing a card. Difference here is Traherne has a much, much better chance to see the card you want to get rid of. And back in the day, this thing was 6 provisions. Even at 8 provisions, it's still good. If you mill, like, if you look at their deck, right? It's like, what? After you draw 15 cards in their deck, say, like, a deck has 6 cards. Well, what's he worth? He's worth 8 provisions, right? So if he gets rid of an opponent's 8 provision card they're going to draw, he gets value. If they're going to draw the 8 provision card, he gets value, right? Because it's an even trade, essentially. How many cards are 8 provisions or more in a deck? Probably, like, maybe, like, 10. If they have 10 cards or 8 or more in their deck, what's the chance of seeing at least one? Oh, it's pretty darn high. So he gets exceptionally good value on average. Like, if you just play him and he gets rid of an 8 provision card, they were going to draw that game. It's value, which is why he's so good in my mind. Unless he's round 3, then he's awful. But the real strength comes with the high roll. You play him, you discard a scenario. That is so many provisions. Like, think about what people complain about the Temple of Melitele, right? Like, oh, add so many provisions to your deck. Traherne's discarding provisions from their deck. It's just as annoying. So, I hate this card. Anyone who plays it, I'm really mad against. Not really mad, but opinion of them lowers instantly. And you know that everyone who's playing Renfrey has this in there. Like, people used to play this in Renfrey, right? Like, Renfrey, Nilfgaard loved this card. It was in all of them. And I also despise Renfrey, which is not on this list because that is on the legendary list. Although we might try and play Renfrey and try and get over that because she's not awful anymore. It's bad memories of her. But this card is still awful. And I have bad memories of him. Well, he's at number 3. And you're asking yourself, what could I hate more than this card? I think you guys know what's coming. I think you guys know. I don't want to talk about this card anymore. I think everyone in the game basically hates this. we're going to a different faction. It's Northern Realms for Muta Generator. What a shock. I know. So unpredictable. Muta Generator, some of those cards just feels terrible to play against. I've had a lot of people argue with me that Muta Generator is balanced, is being unfairly targeted by the Balance Council, that should not have even been buffed from 6, or should not have ever left 6 provisions, because that was the only thing holding Northern Realms together. And a lot of people argue with me about this in the comments. I disagree, but if you guys thought it was fine at 6, that's your opinion. I just disagree with it. But you can keep that opinion. It's fine. But even if you think this card's balanced, which I'm not voting for it to go to 10, just random side note, I think whatever. I think this card is super annoying to play against, even if it's balanced. Because the opponent plays it. Let's put it this way. The opponent plays the card. You go, they go, like, just say they open up, they play this. Well, here's what you're thinking already. If you have Heat Wave in your hand, you throw it. There was no card worth Heat Waving, saving a Heat Wave for, over Muta Generator that they're going to play. Because it's that much value. Which is really annoying. If you have Verification, you laugh at them because you actually get value. That's actually really good. But they play this. If you plan to pass on 7, because you do not want them getting value from this, they still get 15 points of deck boost. If they want to go down a card, or 10 points if they want to win on even. Supposing they do actually win on even, which they probably won't, because you lose tempo the turn you play this, so they're most likely going to play down to 6. You play down to 7, they win the round, all normal. That's 15 points of deck boost from that. 15 points of carryover on engine cards most of the time. That is really, really good, even if you just pass. On the other hand, if you try and play them down, like try to actually win the round, get down to like 3, 4, oh goodness, get down to like 2 cards, well, they have like 40 points of deck boost. And that is really hard to come back from. So I think this card's very unfun to play against. It's one of those, if you don't answer it, you will probably lose, but that's not as extreme here. It just, if you don't answer this, you can still win the game. It's just a huge pain, because you know all their engines are going to be too big to kill. You know they're going to have these random cards that got boosted by a whole bunch of points. They didn't play their Siege Masters. Is it Siege Master? What's this, 5? Siege Master? Yeah, Siege Masters. They're going to come down out of their hand for like 10 points of random tempo with a random siege engine. And I just think it's incredibly annoying to play against. And then half the time they have an Erland that's immune and takes all the points they never got to use, which should be the weakness of this card. You don't draw the cards for the points on it. They just get all the points anyway on an Erland that is immune. So, this is my second least favorite card. Well, least favorite epic card. And we all know, I'm sure all of you know, what number 1 is. This was a tight race between 1, 2, and 3, by the way. I had a difficult time picking these, the top 3 ordering. We're going with number 1, which is Sabbath. I don't know if I have to explain this. I feel like a ton of people hate this card. I'm pretty sure this card got nerfed in the last Balance Council. I'm pretty sure it's also the reason Cave Troll got nerfed. And I'm also pretty sure it's the reason a lot of the Monsters cards end up getting a lot more hate than they otherwise maybe deserve. Like Keltalis. Keltalis is fine until they play it every round. I mean, yeah. They just play their best cards right away. And then they make the defender immune. So you have to heat wave it, and you can't heat wave what's behind it. And then all of a sudden, next round, which is Sabbath, they're all back again. You manage to win that round somehow, well, they're going to Alyssa, which is Sabbath again. It brings back all the most annoying cards you want to deal with. Or don't want to deal with. And it's just a huge pain. Like, conceptually, when this card first came out, I did not hate it. So I was like, well, what if we do like old Spear Tip, Asleep, and then he gets big, and we can use that to come back with big tempo. And I tried that out. Like, that was pretty fun. Then all of a sudden, it just evolved to, if you don't answer this, you lose, because we get to replay these 3 cards every round, and you're dead. With, like, Keltalis, mainly. Or, like, Arrakis Queen, Triple Gurnakora. There's just so many Arrakis Queen things that this just turned into. It's just spamming out something, and then if they don't have an answer, you lose. Which is a huge pain. And I hate playing against it. But yeah, that's my list. My least favorite epic cards in the game. There's a lot of other epic cards I find annoying, but which cards do you guys dislike the most? Let me know. Are there any cards I said I hated that you guys like? Or anything that you guys hate that I liked? Do you just randomly hate Hammond for some reason? I don't know. Just let me know in the comments. But this is pretty fun. And next up, we'll do the rare cards. Hopefully it won't take as long to do the rare ones after the epic ones as I took to do the epic ones after legendary ones. But I already see one on this page that's going to make that list. So, actually, I see more than one. Yeah, at least 2 of these will be on my top 10 for the rares. But hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you in the next one. That'll be it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. And you can check out some more videos over here. And thanks for watching.